Animals are truly remarkable. Each morning, a bald eagle stops by to see his best friend, a cat. But one day an unexpected event occurs. When Annie heard the loud sound at her door and the eagle's call, she quickly went outside, concerned about her outdoor rescue cat. Wild animals lived near their home, and she worried about the safety of her cats. This concern came from experience, as she once lost a dog in a similar way. Annie visited the only grocery store in her small rural town. The place had just this store and a doctor, but no vet or many other services like a dry cleaner or dentist. Annie, who worked as a copywriter, had the freedom to work from anywhere, and she chose a cozy cabin in the woods. This place was her home, offering serene views of the forest from her porch. However, living here meant accepting certain risks. At the grocery store, one of the elderly women came in with a basket in her hands. As soon as she saw Annie, she moved towards her. Annie grew up in this village, and her parents gave her their cabin. She was a real local, and everyone knew her. They knew that she had a soft heart and loved animals. They also knew she did a few online vet courses because she wanted to know how to look after her own animals, since there were no vets in the vicinity. She had already lost a dog because of this. With no vet in the area, the poor dog bled to death from injuries sustained in an eagle attack. As soon as the lady reached her, she opened the basket, and inside were two of the smallest kittens Annie had ever seen. The mother had been lost when she was caught by a fox, leaving these two kittens orphaned. The old woman adored her cat, which was lost, but she didn't have the energy to look after two newborn kittens. It was going to be a lot of work to feed them by hand every few hours, and to give them all the attention that they would need. She did, however, want them to have a good shot at life, and when trying to figure that out, she thought of Annie straight away. Annie's first instinct was to refuse. She would get attached to the kittens, and there was no guarantee that she could help them pull through. But then one of the kittens, the black and white one, yawned. It was adorable. Annie knew she had to try despite the danger to her own heart. She got supplies, including a milk substitute and a baby bottle. She would have to bottle feed them every 2 hours since they were still so young. It was exhausting. She fed them and carried them around inside her jacket's front pouch all day long. The kittens could sleep there, close to her heart, and cuddled up together. It kept them calm and comfortable. They grew bigger, and their eyes opened. It was amazing to see them become fluffy and chubby. When they were around 4 weeks old, she decided that it was time to give them names. She didn't want to do it before that point, because she was constantly terrified of losing them. Naming them would make it too real if she lost them. But they were starting to eat solid food, and they were playful and happy. She already knew that she was going to keep them if they made it, and she was hoping that they would. She called the black and white kitten Panda and the other one Lucky. They grew stronger quickly after that. The 2 kittens were so confident and happy, and they just loved exploring. Annie did not want them to play outside. There were just too many dangers. But the kittens refused to listen. They wanted out every chance they got. If Annie opened a window, they tried to slip through. If she had a door open, they tried to scratch through the screen. It was a fight between Annie and the cats the entire time. Eventually, she decided to take them out for short periods to allow them to explore while she was there to watch them. Surprisingly, the kittens didn't want to go far. They just went to sleep on the porch in the sun and played in the grass just behind the house. Then they would come straight back inside. It took a while, but eventually Annie trusted that they would stay close. She still kept an eye on them when they played outside, but she didn't constantly sit with them anymore while they hung out there. One day, something strange happened because of that, and Annie got a massive fright. She was working, and Lucky sat on her lap, but Panda was playing outside. Suddenly, Annie heard something that made her blood run cold. She heard an eagle call. There were a lot of bald eagles in their area, and she was terrified. A bald eagle would easily pick up Panda and carry her away. She placed Lucky on the chair and ran to the door, but then she stopped short of going out. Panda was chilling on the porch railing, and next to her was a small bald eagle. The eagle was very young. He still had fluffier feathers than an adult bald eagle would have. It seemed like he was practicing flying, and he couldn't get any further. In these moments, Panda would probably be able to hurt the eagle more than the bird could hurt her, but she didn't. She just relaxed next to him. At one point, she moved closer, and the bird just sat cuddled up next to her. It was incredible to see. Annie kept watching the sky just in case the eagle's parents might come looking for him, but the sky was blue, and she saw nothing there that worried her. Annie wasn't sure if she should go out to help the eagle, but Panda had it covered. She jumped down next to her food and water bowl. There was still some food left in it, and it was like she was showing the eagle the food. He hopped off the railing and drank water for about an hour. The cat and the bird sat calmly, and even when Lucky came out into the sun, the eagle didn't get scared. Lucky didn't even look at the eagle. Panda was interacting with him a lot more than her brother did. After an hour, the eagle started flapping his wings. He had rested up, and it was time to leave. He struggled a bit to take flight, but then he flew away. It was amazing, and Annie couldn't believe that she could witness this once-in-a-lifetime experience. Or at least, she believed it was a one-time occurrence that would never be repeated. But the very next day, the eagle was back. As soon as Panda saw him on the porch, she wanted to go out and hang out with him. The eagle grew bigger and stronger, but he remained best friends with Panda. Every day he would come to visit, and he never seemed aggressive. It was pretty amazing, but things took an even more bizarre turn soon after. Panda was moaning at Annie's feet and wouldn't stop. Lucky was normally the more vocal cat who wanted to cuddle, but as much as Annie tried to pick Panda up, she didn't want to go. She wanted Annie to follow her. Annie got up and followed the cat outside. She ran off the porch, and for the first time, she ran into the woods. Annie rushed after her to stop her from going too far, but she didn't realize the cat was leading her somewhere until Panda stopped in front of a tree. A bald eagle was stuck in one of the low branches. Its wing was caught in the branches, and the wing looked injured. Annie thought that this was probably Panda's friend, and he needed help. She went to grab a blanket and gloves, plus a step ladder. She climbed up to the eagle and wrapped the blanket around him. Then she carefully loosened the wing. As soon as he was free, she carried him back to the house. There she wrapped his wing and placed him in a big crate with fresh meat and water to allow him to rest. His wing would have to heal, and then she would release him. She was just glad he was used to her, or he might not have been as calm, while she bandaged him. Then she walked outside to make sure that Panda and Lucky were still close. What she saw shocked her. The two cats were on the porch, but so was Panda's eagle friend. That only meant one thing. The eagle she had cared for was a completely different bird. He must have realized that Annie was helping because he could have taken her arm off, but he didn't. She looked after the second eagle until his wing healed. As he got stronger, the cats were in and out of the house the entire time, and he got used to them. Annie placed the cage outside in the mornings when the other eagle came to visit, and he could then see all the other animals too. After a while, it was time to release the injured bird. He was a lot stronger and ready to go. She placed the crate on the porch and opened the door. Slowly, the eagle got out and spread his giant wings. He flapped them a few times and then flew up. It was so majestic that it left Annie in tears. The next morning, she was surprised. Both eagles arrived for their morning visit. It was amazing. Panda and the first eagle were best friends and cuddled as usual, but they all loved spending time together. Every morning, this bald eagle visited his cat's best friend, but one day, something was about to happen that would disturb their peace. Annie looked outside one morning, and the two cats and the two eagles were all peacefully napping in the sun. Panda and her friend were sitting close together, cuddling. She went inside to work, and about an hour later, chaos broke out. She heard screams from the eagles, and the cats were making loud noises. When Annie looked out of the window, one of the eagles swooped down, seemingly attacking something. Had the eagles turned against the cats? Annie grabbed the first weapon she could find. Armed with an umbrella, she rushed outside. The cats sat in the doorway as the eagle swooped down on something close to the edge of the forest. They weren't attacking the cats. Instead, they were trying to chase something else away. Annie noticed a young red fox hiding under the bushes with the eagle still attacking it. It seemed like the eagles were trying to protect their cat friends. The little fox kept hiding its face in the deep grass and wouldn't come out. He did not look like a big predator. Instead, he looked scared and alone. Annie wasn't scared of the eagles. They wouldn't harm her either. She chased them off and moved closer to the bushes to have a better look at the fox. The fox was barely more than a baby, and he had a terrible wound on his side. It looked like a moose or deer had attacked and wounded him with its antlers. The wound was deep. She knew that the red fox could attack her cats, but there was no way that Annie would leave this animal in pain if she could help him. Once again, she brought out the large crate and a blanket and wrapped the fox in it to take the animal back to the house. She gave him a sedative to make him sleep. Then she cleaned up his wounds and stitched him up. She could only hope that the wound didn't affect any major organs. She was determined to give the fox the best shot at recovery. She kept him for a while, and he got a lot sicker before he got better. The poor fox had a fever, and Annie sat with him, sponging him down and trying to nurse him back to health the entire night. It was scary. The cats stayed with her all night, and at one point, Panda even curled up next to the fox to give him comfort. Panda was a caring little cat, and she always looked after all the other creatures she came into contact with. It always seemed like other animals reacted to the positive energy she projected. By morning, the fox was showing improvement, although he was still quite weak. He slept for hours in the crate, and then Annie fed him just as she did with the eagle. She also placed him outside in the morning when the eagles came for their daily visit. Her intention was for the animals to get used to each other, not because she planned on keeping the fox, but in the hope that if they did interact in the wild, they might leave each other alone. More importantly, she hoped the wild animals would leave her cats alone if they ever met again. She looked after the fox for weeks, and then she took him a lot further into the forest and released him. His wound was healed up, and he was doing well. Annie had high hopes that he would go on to live a good life. Her animals were safe, and things went back to normal. The eagles came for a visit, and the two cats were living their best lives as pampered pets. One morning, during their usual visit, Annie received yet another surprise. Looking outside, she noticed it wasn't just the eagle and cats on the porch. A red fox had joined them, and they were all peacefully coexisting. All the animals appeared relaxed and at ease, creating a wonderful scene. Throughout her life, Panda, her cat, would bring home various injured and stray animals, and together they managed to rescue many. They formed an effective team fueled by kindness, and it was this kindness that allowed them to witness such special moments.